Hello and welcome to Real-Ationship Talk, the podcast hosted by yours truly, Teresha Young, relationship master coach, where we have open, non-judgmental, heart-to-heart conversations about love, self-love, self-care, dating and relationships. And for this week's episode, I am being joined by the wonderful, divine Andrea Ramírez. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for the invite. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy for you to have a conversation with me because we're going to be tapping into the wonderful world of feminine energy. And before we actually land into that topic, I'm just going to share with the listeners a bit more about who you are and what you do. So, Andrea is a hypnotherapist, channeler, and spiritual consultant counselor, bringing spirituality, business, and entrepreneurship together. Practical, down-to-earth spirituality is her goal for greater focus, flow, confidence, mindset, and self-care. Well-being is her highest value, and so she shares her knowledge with the main focus on all-round well-being from spirit. Spirit is our essence, who we really are, the source of peace and wisdom. Bringing a spiritual practice into being and applying it to our highest good is her purpose, to share knowledge and experience with the world in hopes to facilitate the healing and well-being of ourselves through different techniques such as hypnotherapy, channeling, tarot for personal evolution, Reiki, and guided meditations. Andrea, can I just say, just reading out your bio, I feel so peaceful. So peaceful just reading it. I feel calm. I feel balanced. So I would absolutely love for you to share with us some of the key highlights that led you to doing all that you do.
Well, there are two things that were running parallel in my life since I'm a child. One of them was that I was bullied, not only in school, but also at home. And this continued probably until before high school. And then the other thing running parallel to it was a very strong sense of self, which, although I suffered the trauma from the bullying and everything, and all the wounded self-worth and all that stuff growing up, this strong sense of self led me to connect with my spirituality, my higher part, who I really am, not what I am told I am by other people. And this is something that was very, very strong in me since I was a very young child. And then growing up and going into high school years, and then a bit later, I became very interested in how to heal myself and to learn where are these seeds planted when all this bullying happen or abuse or whatever it is. And it's in the subconscious. So I started studying a lot about the subconscious mixed with spirituality, because it's not only that everything that you have experienced in your emotional world, in your mind, in your life in general, affects your personal relationships. But if you are an entrepreneur, it also reflects in your business. And this is when it became really fascinating. And this is when I went headfirst to try to study as much as I could and find out as much as I could and start helping other people.
Thank you so much for that share, because you've mentioned about the bullying, which I'm sure many people can relate to. And you also acknowledge how during that time, you had some great self-awareness and started to tap into a greater sense of yourself. So I'm really curious as to how were you able to communicate yourself and express yourself at that time?
Well, I grew up in the Chile of the 80s. That was during the dictatorship. The society was a very depressed society in the sense of expression, freedom of expression, and artistic expression. It was banned. So in a way, being a child, being the odd one that couldn't really connect with other children, I poured myself into arts. So I started painting and doing all these kind of things like drawing, and that gave me the anchor that could kind of anchor me to myself, to my own personality, to my own sense of self. And even though sometimes the teachers try to pull me out of the art in order to make me do all the things like the other children were doing, I excelled very much at it. So that kind of gave me a window of expression to feel at ease with who I really am, regardless of the other children, you know, like the children and the teenagers that like to run in flocks and they always follow certain fashions and certain trends. And I was, even until today, I'm not into that.
Yeah.
I had a lot of time to also make friends with other odd people. And, you know, when they say, oh, the bullied ones, the strange ones of the class, well, the other friend that I had happened to be Miss Universe. So you can say that people like me or people that have had it more difficult or that feel different in a classroom or in a social group, it's not necessarily because there's something wrong with us. There is something we just want to express that we're not in the right environment at that point in time. But the time comes.
The time does come. And the thing is that, you know, we sometimes acknowledge that as an adult, but to acknowledge that as a kid and to have that greater sense of self as a kid can be something quite unique. And when you were talking about the creativity side, like I love to write poems, and I've written poems since a very young child as a way of my creative outlet too. When I didn't feel a sense of belonging at school and I felt like the odd one out, I would write poems. I used to love writing acrostic poems that go down and it spells a word, and I love doing that. Even to this day, I like writing acrostic poems. And that is such a great form, you know, would you agree, of feminine energy, is the creative outlet, the creative expression that comes from feminine energy. And this was a
Absolutely.
concept to me that was fairly new up until a few years ago. I was like, feminine energy, masculine energy, masculine? You calling me masculine? You know, some of these things that were showing up for me. So I would be absolutely grateful if you could explain what feminine energy means to you and how this differs from masculine energy.
Okay, so as women, we have two faces of feminine, two faces to the same coin of feminine energy. I would call it the sun and the moon. So we have the feminine energy that you can exude with your presence, no, like being nicely dressed up, well taken care of, getting yourself a nice salt for your bath or a nice cream or a perfume you love, or you know, that brand of makeup that really inspires you to wear like your earrings and your things. I think women have this magical part of feminine energy that we can turn everything into a ritual. We can turn a simple shower into a spa.
Oh,
We can turn a shopping session into a healing session to try to find ourselves again and feel great about ourselves. And that is the most luminous, the most evident part of the feminine energy. Being caring, bringing that plant home, taking care of it, having your pet, buying nice things for your pet, taking care of it, your children, loving them, making sure they have the nicest clothes and that they are clean and nicely made up, and just love them. This is the most evident part of the feminine energy. And then we have what I would like to call the moon side, which is the darker side of the feminine energy, which is not really masculine, but it talks more about the sense of self. Hanging on to that core of yours, that you know you are there, you know you exist there, you know that's the real you, regardless of any packaging that you might be wearing, or whether in post or that you have chosen to be, or to participate in society as a certain character or not. And this part of the sense of self is powerful. It's dark in the sense that it would not let anything or anyone tell them who they are. if that feels differently to the way that you feel that you truly are in your heart, in your core, in your spirit. And it's the sense of energy that will come into a relationship and won't let herself be absorbed by it, but rather to take it as a kind of like a teamwork, if as it were.
Okay.
So the dark energy is the part that some people say, oh, she's a B word.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's that sense of self that demands respect, because I know that I am a person that deserves respect.
Yeah.
I am a person that has gone through things, and I won't let you take me for granted. If I am a nurturing person, I won't let you, take me like a sponge and just take all the nurturing away from me without me getting also my part from you, because it's an exchange of energy. So sometimes the dark needs to come out and show itself and say, I don't agree with this. I actually think this is like this. This is my reality. This is how I function. This is how I work. This is how I understand relationships. And these are my issues that I know I need to work on. That's also the wounded part of the feminine energy. That is also part of the dark energy. That if we work enough, we can bring it to the light. So all the things that are dragging us down, trauma, low self-esteem, negative self-talk, are things that we can work on and actually transform them from the moon to the sun. So that wound can become your superpower.
Yes. I love that share. And when you're talking about the sun and the moon, and in actual fact, it's a bit like yin and yang. That's what was coming to me in terms of embracing the darker shadow side of ourselves as well, but using that as your gift and your superpower. And when you was talking there, the words confidence was coming to me, assertiveness, because there's quite, I would say, some misconceptions and stereotypes around what being in your feminine energy looks like. Some people think that means that you're going to be a doormat, you're going to be a martyr, that it means that you have no power. That means that you're submissive. There's some of the things that come to me to say, but I'm going to look weak if I'm in my feminine energy, or I showcase that. So, what are some of the myths and I say misconceptions that you've come across too when it comes to being in your feminine energy?
Well, there's lots of misconceptions at a society level, stuff that is very much ingrained in society. And it's the usual, right? Like in the sense that if there is a woman that is empowered and that is an entrepreneur that is doing her business and, being successful, if there is a woman that has her family, that has her children, stay-at-home mom, there is this misconception that probably the woman that has her own business and her own career success is more successful or more accomplished than the stay-at-home mom. And that is a misconception, because the amount of energy and the capacity that you need in order to organize a household is immense. It's your own business. You're just not putting it out there as a company.
Yeah.
But it's the same type of administrative ability that you need in order to run both things.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I think it's important to mention, because right now with all this trip of empowering women and everything, we're actually pushing the women into more of a masculine role.
Yes.
And we are almost putting feminine energy like it's a dirty thing. I don't know if you have a partner, or if you have your child, or if cleaning your home, or cooking a meal for your partner, making something nice, baking something for your child, it might be seen as that's not an empowered woman, because in our society we think that this is like the very, very traditional, good old-fashioned way that the women work. But if I want to prepare you a nice meal, I will do it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's part of my power too. If I have to go into negotiation in my business, I will do it, because that's the same thing. I want to do it too. And I will use my feminine energy in order to be assertive, in order not to be violent in my communication, but to make my point with the facts, with absolutely everything that I can present to you in order to have a business that is fair. Because one thing we have been told is that when you have a business, or even in a relationship, we have been pushed to work more into the masculine energy, to be the one saying, almost giving orders to our partners, almost giving orders to the people that we collaborate with, being very non-receptive. And unfortunately, that is seen as a sign of success or strong character, you know. But I think that, it's not that I think, there are studies that actually says that the businesses that are run by women are more successful in terms of the organization, the internal organization, because people have a different way of communicating and problem solving, because you're allowing it to be open and to actually say what you feel and what you think, and be open to new ideas. And it's not patriarchal in the sense, or of masculine energy in the sense that I say what I say, this is what I think, and this is what you will do, and we're going to work until it works no matter what.
So when it comes to societal pressures, cultural pressures, the things that you are describing there, we can be pushed, as women in their feminine energy into more of those masculine energy traits. So I know we spoke about creative outlook and expression. What other tips and exercises perhaps can women do in order to be in their feminine on a daily basis?
Well, like you mentioned, self-care is my highest value. And self-care, just as much as feminine energy, can be misunderstood as something selfish and vain. But self-care is taking care of your mental health. Self-care is taking care of your emotional health. Self-care is looking into your values, into your beliefs, into your self-talk, and how this affects your everyday.
Yeah.
And be brave enough to go there to this little Pandora's box and start working and sorting through it. That is self-care to me. And self-care in feminine energy makes you go through that traumatic process of sorting out things with compassion, with gentleness, giving yourself the time and allowing yourself to find the right professional to work with, not just taking anything that comes. So putting yourself first in a positive way, in the sense that I need help, but I also want to use this new superpower once it's healed and once it's taken care of, to help others and to improve my reality and my life and my environment. So in this sense, self-care and feminine energy can become a very powerful tool of healing.
I love what you're saying there, because that element of self-awareness and self-reflection sounds very important when it comes to being in your feminine energy, because when you are able to nourish your mind, your body, your spirit, you are therefore, as you said, coming up with what are your values, what are your needs, what are your desires, what are your deal breakers. That's boundaries as well. You have your own internal boundaries. You'll be able to communicate your boundaries in a non-violent way, as you said before, so that people can fully respect you as a person in your power, in your feminine power. And I also am curious about your thoughts on feminine energy and intuition, and whether that is interlinked too.
Yes. Once you're tuned into your feminine energy, it's inevitable that you will be tuned into your intuition as well. Because I think women, we have lots of like antennas, if you wish. We are always thinking 10 things at the same time. And in all that space, we're always tuning up to a greater intelligence. That's the intelligence of our subconscious. And our subconscious, I mean, it's not even the right way to say it, but it's like our conscious mind and our subconscious mind is like an iceberg. So what you can see is the conscious mind, and what you cannot see is the subconscious mind, which is great. And there is a lot of wisdom in there. So when it comes to using this intuition, we're tapping into that subconscious part of ourselves that is very wise, that has all the answers, that knows all the avenues on how we can heal and how we can change things, our perceptions and even habits, in order to improve our lives. So when you say intuition, intuition is part intelligence and part guessing. But that guesswork comes from a very deep database of information that you have stored in your subconscious. And this is conscious and subconscious mind working together as one.
It's a unity, and the iceberg analogy that you use is going to be so helpful for people to process that. In a very busy world that we have, where we're wearing so many different hats, you could be the mama bear, a bit like me, having my own business, taking care of my daughter. And let me tell you, the 6 weeks holiday was real. I was doing 2 jobs at one time with her at home and running my business.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, extremely exhausted. Also really fruitful. Had a great time with her. But equally, we can get really, really busy. So how can we tap into the intuition, being the intelligent side, the subconscious side? What practices can we do? Because I know you're very much like a holistic person. So I'm assuming things like meditation, getting quiet. What are some of the practices?
Well, meditation is one of the things that we can start doing. And there is something that I called meditation supplements, which is really interesting because I notice even for myself sometimes that it's very difficult to say, okay, I have half an hour. I'm going to sit down, close my eyes and not think about anything after a day that was probably super busy or a day that will be really busy, or at the end of the day when the day was crazy and my mind is still full and I cannot even sleep. This happens. So the meditation supplements is when you are taking a little break and you are preparing yourself some tea or preparing yourself a coffee, and you sit down and you drink this tea, you drink this coffee, the moments of savoring. This is when you can switch off the blah blah of your mind and just be in the moment, experiencing the textures, the flavors, how it feels when this enters into your body, and becoming more focused inward instead of up here in the mind. This is the crazy person living in our house. Yes. The mind is designed to use energy, but our body is designed to produce energy. So when we live in the mind, we will be constantly exhausted to the point that we will make ourselves sick. And we are experiencing our reality in a balanced way from our bodies, the wisdom of our body, what is good for your body, what is it that you're putting into your mouth, what you eat, what you drink, and also what you put in your mind and how much you let this take control of your day. Then you will have more energy and your mind will be less clogged with information and facts that are really not useful for you in your everyday life, that will take a lot of energy from you. So these meditation supplements, if you take them every day, even if you're in a commute looking out of the window of the bus, just let this roll in your mind without thought and experience this in your body. How does your body feel in this moment? And try to take this with you. And the more you do it, the easier it will become the next time you want to sit down and say, I'm going to meditate. It's going to come naturally to you.
Yes, I love that. It becomes second nature in the way. And what you were describing there just felt so sensory, as in being present in the now. Because when we're up in the mind, it's probably thinking about something in the future, could be something that's happening in the past, but the power of now and being present. And another word that was coming to me when you was talking there was gratitude. it's being grateful for where you are in that moment as well, to fully kind of boost that meditation supplement. I love that phrase. I've not heard of it before, but and when it comes to meditation, many people do think that I don't have the time to meditate, or I have to fling on a 5 or 10 minute meditation at the start of my day, the end of my day. So it becomes a chore.
Exactly,
However,
yes.
if you can just be in that meditation supplement stage, just to fully, and we can do it at any time. I won't be in that stage when I'm talking to you, Andrea, because I'll zone out. The podcast will be 3 hours long. But it's actually choosing those moments really wisely as to when you can absorb it. I absolutely love that. Are there any other practices you would say, rather than, you've got meditation, just in case meditation isn't for some people? Is there anything else that they could do?
Well, there are many things, many things. There are things for everybody. We work mostly on three systems: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic.
Mm.
So for some people, and going now into self-hypnosis, for example, for some people it's very difficult to visualize because they are better either listening, having an inner dialogue, or feeling a sensation that usually includes a movement. So self-hypnosis is a very powerful tool. Meditation is a very powerful tool, but you have to really do the work and try to find what fits you best. If you are a person that are very much, that loves like textures and has a lot of inner dialogue or things in terms of emotion, it's probably good to treat yourself to a massage, for example, to treat yourself to this very nice shower gel, and really take a little bit of extra time in the shower and try not to think about anything. Just immerse yourself in the way it feels, the texture, if you have like a sponge or a loofah or whatever, to try to immerse yourself in that. Become aligned with your preferred sensory, or like the boss of all the sensory systems in your life.
Yeah.
So that would be one thing. Also, for people that are more into the feeling, or that express themselves in emotion and feeling and movement, taking a walk at the beach, walking on top of grass, these kind of things are really very good. And they're energizing, because the now gives us power, gives us energy. And then for a person that is mostly auditory, listening to, there are so many of these 470 something hertz, or these binaural beats. You can look for something like this, or mantras, and just pop them in while you're walking on your way to work, or if you're going and run an errand, just put this music on and leave it playing. I like to do it. I'm not auditory, but I like to do it because I notice that it creates a lot of space in my mind. My mind shuts up. When we listen to a mantra, we don't understand what it means. And so that makes our mind shut up. Our mind is like, what is this?
Yeah.
And so it sends us there. And if you're visual, practice with visualizations. Visualize yourself in your happy place. Find a meditation that takes you through a journey, and connect to meditation and to create this space in your mind and your space in your body through these little things.
Yeah. Those are really powerful shares that you said there, because I can flirt between different experiences. So one day I may feel like I want to go walk on some grass, and I'll just go barefoot. I'll walk on some grass and feel the sensations. Other days it feels like a music day for me. So which is why, each morning I wake up, I do ask myself, what do I want to experience today? And how do I want to experience that? Because then it could be I want to be in an energetic experience. I'm going to listen to some music, and that's what I was with music. But when you are aware of your learning preference, I suppose, which is your visual, kinesthetic, it could be auditory, whatever it is for you, then it's really utilizing that for your power. I absolutely love that share. Now, talking about, feminine energy and relationships, and actually something I did want to bounce back onto. You can still be in your feminine energy at work, by the way, even
Oh,
if you
yeah.
are in the office. Or for me, for example, I've got flowers around my station where I am right now
Hmm.
because I love the visuals of it. I put on a bit of perfume, even if it's a Zoom call.
Yeah,
Or
I
when I
know.
leave it, I
And
still put
this is something I encourage,
yeah.
like even during the time that we were all confined, I was like, take that wonderful shower, do a body scrub, put yourself on nice clothes, put that perfume, even if you're going to sleep because you have nothing else to do, put that nice perfume on and go to sleep on it, like enjoy yourself.
Oh, no, absolutely. You make it sensory for you. If you're at work in the office, maybe you want to get yourself a fancy, good-looking pen rather than a normal biro or something like that. That's just going to
Yes,
make you feel good. So there's little
yes,
things you can even do in the office. There's no reason why you can't do it. And then also, when I'm talking to my clients and they say, I'm having really busy days and I really want to just tap into my feminine energy and be in the now and the present, I say, what's your breathing like? Because when we can also get a grasp of how we're breathing and to go into some really great breathing techniques that can keep us grounded, that can keep us within our feminine energy too.
absolutely. Yes.
And there are little things that you can even do in the office or
Mhm.
take away, from your desk or station and just tap into some of that.
Absolutely.
Relationships, feminine energy. How would you
No.
say that being in your feminine energy can impact on a relationship? I know you spoke about earlier how sometimes we can want to be in control, tell people what to do. So when it comes to expressing, now how can we express our feminine energy in a healthy way in a relationship?
We all have a different set of values,
Mm.
and those values have different hierarchy. Usually, when we are with somebody that we share some of those values. And so the best way to communicate is to communicate in the values of the other person. Even if you feel very strongly about something, it's the same example like with the visual, kinesthetic, and auditory. If you are a visual person and I am a kinesthetic person, maybe if I start talking to you about how I feel, you will understand it, but it's going to take you more work to understand fully what I mean. But maybe if I explain it to you in a way that, like, remember this TV show we watched that the lady was going through this situation? Maybe it's going to be easier for the other side, for your partner to really grasp what you're trying to say, what you mean. Also, when we need something from our partners, it's very important to communicate in their values because then it sounds to them like we are giving them orders. And the same thing when they're talking to us. Sometimes we're like, why are you saying this? Why are you expressing yourself like that? Why are you telling me this? Because he's expressing it or she is expressing herself in a way that shocked us because it's different to how we usually or prefer system of expression would be.
Yeah.
So talking in terms of values, this is, I think, universal, but it becomes very evident when we're talking about relationships.
Yeah, and I love that. It's almost a little bit like the five love languages as well, in
Yes.
terms of understanding how that person would like to receive love and appreciation in their language. So
Yes.
when you can communicate on a value base, now that does take getting to know your partner as well as possible, which is communication. It's to
Yes.
sit down in the right place at the right time to understand what each other's values are. And for some people, that feels like work. Oh, it feels like a project. Relationships do take effort in order
Yes.
because we are also growing as people, and sometimes our values can change. I know that some of my values have changed over the years due to my experiences over the years.
Yes.
So to have that regular check-in with your partner and to communicate on a value basis, I think is such a powerful way of communicating. And it does mean getting to know and have a conversation with your partner about what is important to you.
Yes.
And speaking their language, like you said, if they are a visual person as well, maybe you can say, no, how does that look to you? Or
Yes.
if it's the person who's auditory, how does that sound to you? Feelings,
Exactly.
how does that feel to you? It's just, and then it's, oh, yeah, I can communicate. So
Yes.
it's powerful, isn't it?
it's very powerful and it's mostly subconscious. So once you can tap into that and learn this about yourself and learn this about the other person, it makes it easier when the moment of sharing certain topics comes up.
And have you found, like in your practices and working with people on that way, that when you are tapping more into your feminine energy in the relationship dynamic, that it brings a sense of closeness and intimacy with their partner? Have you had experiences of that?
Yes. Yes, tapping into the feminine energy when it comes to a relationship does mean there's a very fine line. One thing is you are in your power, you're in your feminine energy, you are nurturing. And again, most of the problems I have encountered also with my clients is that they are being nurturing, maybe to a person whose love language is, I don't need your acts of service. I would like your words of affirmation.
Aha.
And so then one toxic trait of the feminine energy, if it goes too much into one extreme, is then becoming submissive and being, like you said at the beginning, the doormat of the other person or the experiences of the other person. So it's always good to keep this in check. When do I finish and when the other person starts? Boundaries, protecting your ecosystem, but at the same time sharing this with the other person and try to find a way for the other person to feel comfortable sharing it with you as well.
When you were talking there, the word like becoming like mothering to that partner, or like almost like a parent to that partner, if you don't understand how it is that they want to receive love, if it could be words of affirmation. And one of those powerful exercises that you can do would be to affirm that person. And not because, oh, they're a needy person. It's not neediness, it's just a need, and we all have needs when it comes to a relationship, and we shouldn't feel that we can't express our needs. We just need to express it in a way that that person can hopefully receive it with the best intention. It's all about communication and the way in which we communicate, but it's really understanding, as you said, how it is that that person wants to receive it. It might even be gifts. And if that's that person's love language and they would like to receive gifts, it doesn't mean that they are a materialistic person. It's just the way that they feel loved and appreciated for so many different reasons there.
Exactly.
Yeah. On the topic of relationships, because I do also have a little bit of curiosity when it comes to my guests about some of the lessons and learnings that you've had from your own personal experience when it comes to romantic relationships.
Well, this is an interesting one because I was actually reflecting back on previous relationships from being very young until today. And I noticed something, that the worse my mental health was, I found a partner that matched that same level of mental trouble.
Yes.
So I'm gonna put it in a way that's gonna sound weird, but it was almost like a video game. So you have the first partner, my mental health was not in a good place, bad experiences happen, the relationship finishes, and I just don't dwell on it. I continue to work on myself, trying to see what would be my red flags, what would be the cause for this happening. Sometimes it's the other person that really does something negative to you, but at the same time, trauma is not what happened to us, but how we react to what happened to us. So why did I have this reaction? Why did I attract this person into my life? And so I noticed that the more time that passed, and the more relationships that I kind of went through, they all matched and mirrored my internal state of being.
Wow. That's really powerful, because if you've noticed, I'm all about noticing patterns. I love patterns when it comes to, when we start to understand the pattern behind it, then we are in our power to then change it. Because if we know, for you knew that that person was mirroring where you were at that time in your life, then we think, aha, so what do I want? How do I want somebody to mirror me? Like, and am I actually living? Am I being that person right
Yeah,
now? That must have
yeah.
been such a so going forward now, what would you say are some of the things that you would like people to mirror for you?
Well, I'm in a long-term relationship right now. And like you say, values change, priorities change. And this is something that you need to keep in check. And also the way that you mirror each other and you match each other changes.
Mm,
So obviously for the future, my wish is that communication can continue to improve, that even if my internal world and his internal world change or transforms, that we can find a way to catch up with each other and continue to be there to work with each other, to communicate with each other, to be a team, to be able to provide help and solutions for the other, or just simply listen from a detached point. Because sometimes all you need is just to say something without the other person trying to find a solution for
yes.
you or whatever. It's just listen to me, just anything, and of hopefully be of help just as much in the same way.
Yeah.
I think that's probably my biggest wish, to
Yeah.
continue to evolve together and in that process to get to know yourself more.
Mm. And sometimes if it's the male woman dynamic, a man in his masculine energy will probably want to come and try and solve the issue. And just a little bit of a heads up for that person. You can say to them, I'm really not looking for a solution right now of the fix. I just want to talk. I just want to talk, let it out, and just be present with you. And then hopefully that person, your partner, can sit back and be like, okay, they still might have that burning desire to want to do something about it, but
Yes,
it's just knowing you can step back in this moment. It's fine. I mean, I'm just sharing, just a personal share there. And they don't
exactly.
get
Yes.
mad when I don't give a solution to you, but you ask not for one. So
Yeah.
that's cool. With regards to romantic relationships, you are in a long-term relationship at the moment. What would be your personal definition of love on the romantic side then?
Well, first thing I would say is that Hollywood is very wrong with all his romantic movies.
Mm,
It's doing more harm than good. There can be romantic moments,
yeah.
but a romantic relationship is not only to have a good partner and a good friend, but also to be able to experience life together and have experiences in common, even if you both enjoy it in a different way.
Yeah.
So be able to be there for the other person. Sometimes you just need to be standing next to the other person, and the same for the other person with you. And to be able to make things as easy as possible for the other one and for yourself when it comes to any sort of trouble or misunderstanding. So
Mm,
we have this thing that when we see we're going like completely crossed in
yeah.
different paths, but we're talking about the same thing in a completely different way, we say, okay, we'll leave it now.
Aha.
On to the next topic. If we want, we can talk about it tomorrow. Maybe we are more clear, but let's leave it for now. Let's go on to a different topic. If it's nothing important, if it's just, a conversation. But if it is something important, there are several exercises that you can do for yourself and that your partner can do. One of them is that if you are really very, very mad, you can write a letter, or you can just open the Word document and start literally vomiting all your feelings in there.
Yeah.
You can save it. And then the next day, you can open it and read it and realize that you were like completely out of your mind.
Yeah.
And the same thing with being mad, with the other person. You can be mad with the other person, but it's also important to check with the other person if it's okay to have some space in order to retreat and deal with it yourself first. And then from a place of resolution to come and talk to the other person. Because when we're hot-headed, when we are feeling somehow aggravated or whatever, you're not going to find a solution. It needs to come from a place of quiet, from a place of assertiveness. And if you give it a little bit of time, a little bit of a time off, then the next time you sit down together, maybe it's going to go so much easier, because you realize this wasn't like a super big problem. It's just a simple misunderstanding, which usually is.
Really, really love the time out, the pause, the power of the pause, to be able to step back, to be able to let it go, to release it, whether that's way to verbally or not verbally, but to write it down and to vomit, just vomit it out, and then
just get it out of your system.
Just get it out. Just get it out. If you want to, after you read it, you might want to tear it up. You might want to just do something with it as well to release that energy. But it's really important that you are able to express yourself at a time that is good for both people too, because that space can be such a healing part of whatever it is that you need to communicate. And when you are communicating, you can say, "No, I'm feeling." Tap into your feelings. No, I'm feeling quite aggravated right now. Even if you are feeling, label the feeling, label the emotion. And it would be really helpful for me if I had some time out, rather than "you're making me feel aggravated, you're making me feel mad, you're doing this," because it's only going to give heat to that situation.
Exactly. And it's going to antagonize the other part. And you don't want to be with this enemy figure that is supposed to be your partner. So it becomes very, very deep, and we go very deep in our wounds, in our own wounds, when we are in that state of trying to solve a problem or a misunderstanding. And this is why it's important, this time out, to look at yourself. Where is this coming from? Why am I reacting like this? Is this mine? Did I learn it? Is this a reaction from something very far away in the past that I thought I had worked out, but I didn't? So this is the great thing. If you work with yourself in these cases, it's almost like magic. The other person will also start doing the same thing. Whether you tell the other person or not, they will go into the same energy, into the same space. And this is incredible. I mean, it's like magic.
And we sometimes don't even have to figure out too much of the hows. You just do it and it just works its way out. It just does. And it's the magic behind it, and the energy exchange that can come from that is so powerful. You have dropped so much inspiration, so many insights during this conversation today. I've absolutely loved it. The practical tips and techniques are really going to go down well with people, because a lot of people want to know, well, what can I do in those moments? And the gift of the conversation that we've had today is that the listeners and audience now have the opportunity to do that inner reflection, because there are some times when we can be in a moment and we can be like, oh, who does he remind me of right now? Or who does she remind me of right now? Or what does this situation remind me of? Oh, it reminds me of when I was maybe bullied back when I was younger. And it's the same kind of behaviors as what I experienced then. So is it really showing up, in your partner, or is there some healing still to go back and do that self-reflection? So it all starts with ourselves, and that puts us in our feminine energy.
Exactly. Yes.
Andrea, thank you so much. Would there be one key takeaway that you could leave our audience with that can help them along their journey of love, life, and relationships?
Self-care. Take care of yourself. Learn about yourself. Look after your own red flags. Think about what is it that you have normalized for yourself that is not normal. Think about the relationships in the past and what was your role in those relationships, and how can you create a space for yourself to sort these things out, and even find help if you have to. But this is very, very important. The more your ecosystem, your inside, it's healed, and just like an ecosystem, the healthier it is, then you will attract another ecosystem that's going to match that. So it's very important. Self-care is not only getting yourself a nice perfume or going to the hairdressers and getting a nice massage, scalp massage, whatever. Self-care is really looking after yourself. Be your own mother. Be your nurturer. Look after yourself. And when you find something that you don't like, beat yourself up a little bit, but
Mm.
then just go ahead and work on it compassionately, because most of the things that we express and exchange in relationships are learned from relationships in our family, are
Yeah.
learned from the need to survive in our lives and survive through the relationships. And there are mechanisms that no longer serve us sometimes. So it's good to keep yourself updated in this sense.
Mm. I really, really appreciate that final takeaway there. Andrea, how can people find you, follow you, and have you got anything coming up, any events that the listeners would love to hear about too?
Well, there's something really exciting that I'm a part of. I am a co-founder of a new app that's called Magic Audios. And this is going to be something that is going to be tailor-made for women to help them through meditation and self-hypnosis to work on themselves and to help them heal. So this is going to be an app. It's currently under development, and I'm part of it, also overlooking the meditations and overlooking the self-hypnosis and all this. So it's something really exciting and inspiring to me to be able to bring this gift, to
Mm.
learn how to work with your own subconscious, with this internal ecosystem, and to improve your quality of life, improve every single experience that you have during your day, and to create this personal space where you find yourself, when you can go to yourself at the end of the day or at any moment that you need to go back to your center. So I'm really excited about that. And then on the 30th at 5 in the afternoon CET, there's going to be an online kind of seminar, if you will, a presentation about the app. And I will be giving out 4 different meditations and self-hypnosis for everybody that signs up. And if you would like to be part of it, you can go to my Instagram. It's Fortuna Living Spirit. And there you can just go to the link and you will find a link to the event. And you can take home 4 beautiful meditations and self-hypnosis to just play. And they are short, they are less than 20 minutes. So that's also really helpful.
Oh, that sounds so exciting. I'm definitely going to be signing up to the app. That's a non-negotiable for me. You'll find me there. I'm going to drop all of your links into the notes, which will be the show notes here, which will be around this podcast. Very exciting times for you. Thank you for sharing. Do follow, check out Andrea. She is absolutely amazing. I love following her work. Absolutely love it. So again, thank you so much for your time, for your energy today. It's so appreciated.
Thank you so much, Teresha. I really, really enjoy sharing with you. I think your aura is just so bright. I love it. I love to hang out with you. Thank you so much for giving me the space to share.
Oh, it's an honor and privilege, and thank you. I really do receive those words. That means so much to me. And for everybody who has listened to this wonderful discussion and conversation between myself and Andrea, I want to thank you for your time, for your attention, and for your energy. And until the next episode, take great care of yourself and others too.